All right. Actually, that's a bad idea. I had me streaming live on, pulled up on my iPad. That's not a good idea. All right. Hello, beautifuls. Welcome to your yoga class. My name's Jenny. This is a restore practice, which is the yummiest of all the practices. It's going to be pretty chill, slow down pace, really focusing on some deeper stretches. So maybe not do as many poses as we did last week. Last week we did a full head to toe kind of exploration. We'll do something similar to that. We'll still, kind of work the whole body, but maybe hold things just a little bit longer. And in order to support ourselves in these poses, sometimes some props are nice. So one of my favorites is a bolster. If you have a regular restore practice or plan on creating one, cultivating one, and you don't have a bolster, I highly recommend getting one of these. I got this from Hugger Mugger, which is a local Salt Lake company. So very, very cool thing. You can use it for meditating, you can use it for your restore practice, you can use it in any practice. I use it in pigeon pose. But if you don't have one of these, feel free to grab some couch cushions, some pillows. You can roll up a big old blanket. Blankets are another good prop. They can add a little bit of cushion, they can add a little lift, and you can also wrap up at the end if you want in Shavasana. Blocks are also a handy prop. One or two of these just gives you a little extra lift, sometimes a little extra support. I also have, since I only have one block for my second one, this is just a rolled up yoga mat, rolled up, folded in thirds, rolled up and taped. This could work, a stack of books, or anything, kind of similar to this kind of size and shape. So at home, take a moment to gather your props. And kind of the theme that I want to focus on today is pretty simple. It's just embodiment, just feeling your body through your practice. And this theme came from a class that I took last week from the amazing Katie Shifkin. It was a breathwork, sound bath practice, but one mantra that she kept on coming back to is, you are not here to be enlightened, you are here to embody. You're, embodiment over enlightenment. And it was a really great reminder for me, especially as a yoga teacher. Sometimes I, think that I need to be this spiritual guru, this perfect, being. Obviously I'm not. No one is. And, I kept on putting all this pressure on myself to just be, I gotta be enlightened. It's like, no, that's not what this is about. This is not about getting to that next level. While that can happen, it's all about embodiment. And embodiment comes in many different forms, but today we're just going to focus on physical. So just focus on your physical body through your practice. Even as emotions come up, notice how those emotions affect your physical body, where you feel them, what you feel from those emotions in the physical realm. So let's start lying down. That sounds nice. So take some time to get yourself set up. We'll come lying on the back, but if you want to use any props to support you, the bolster is a nice one underneath the legs. Maybe a blanket or a block to support your head. Just if that feels good, and just take time to, maybe get the wiggles out. Maybe you want to take a big good morning stretch first, and then just kind of release down into it. You can always send a sigh out of the mouth at any point. And as you just start to lay here, start to feel into your body. Feel the connection of your body to the earth, to the props, to your yoga mat. Feel that physical connection. Feel that sensation of the earth supporting you. Feel into the areas that are connected to the ground. And then moving from the ground upwards, just start to notice the rest of the body. Notice anything else that's going on, any sensations that you feel, any tension, tenderness, any stiffness or soreness. Just really check in with the physical body so that you kind of get an idea of what's going on right now. You may have an idea from your history, maybe you have injuries that you're still working with, or maybe you've had surgeries that you are aware of that that maybe needs a little extra love or attention. But just start to gather this information to create a solid baseline of how you are physically feeling right now. Know that there's no right or wrong answer. There's no perfect way that your body should feel. We're just observing, just noticing. Along with your physical body, you can check in with your energetic levels. Has it been a long, rough day? Or did you get a lot accomplished and now you're feeling kind of worn down? Or are you feeling more energized? Just really taking full stock of your present moment and allowing yourself to physically be here. Obviously physically you're here, but that also embodiment is in the mind. It's not just being in the body, it's the mind-body connection. Start to notice the breath. In this practice, there are multiple ways that you can connect to the breath, but we want to use that connection because it helps us to embody our present moment. When we observe the breath, it gets us in our body, which then helps us settle in, helps us be fully present. So let the sensations be your anchor. And this observation of the breath, this could be how you interact with the breath tonight, just by simply observing it in its natural flow. Notice how the poses affect the breath. Notice how when thoughts and feelings arise, how that affects the breath. Notice how your observation affects the breath. There's a natural tendency to start to deepen the breath when we become aware of it. You could also play with deep belly breathing. Taking deep breaths in and out of the nose, and taking the breath all the way down to the belly. On the inhale, pressing the belly out, creating space for the lungs to expand. And on the exhale, drawing the belly in, helping to press all that air out. You're welcome to continue to play with deep belly breathing if that's how you would like to interact with the breath tonight. You could also take that a step further by activating Ujjayi breathing, finding an activation of the muscles in the back of the throat, those muscles that you activate to fog up a window or a mirror, that kind of sound. But still breathing in and out of the nose with those deep belly breaths. That addition of the throat activation, again, gives us an audible cue for the mind to tune into, another anchor for us to fully embody our present moment and embody our practice through the breath. And that activation also helps to calm our nervous system. Helps us to get into that state of rest and relaxation, of digestion, and of recovering. So continue to use the breath to stay connected to the body, to stay in your present moment, and come back to the breath at any point in your practice, if you notice the mind is wandering, if the body starts to get fidgety, if you start to notice that you're checking out, just come back to that breath, however you choose to interact with it. And from here, we'll just kind of start to move the body a little bit. You can slowly start to remove any props that are supporting you. Pressing those off to the side, but having them in reach. And then we'll all meet up flat on the back and extend the arms overhead. Stretch out through the legs. Nice big good morning stretch. Maybe lengthen out through the right toes, up through the right fingers, taking a little side stretch, expanding through the whole right side of the body. And then switching it out, extending up through the left fingertips, out through the right toes, opening up through that, left toes, opening up through that left side body. Just a nice big morning stretch. And when you feel ready, just start to draw the knees in towards the chest. This can be nice and slow, one at a time. Maybe you bring the knees just bent at first, and then lift the feet up off the ground. And you'll probably notice that you want to tuck up the tailbone, and that just helps to lengthen through the low back. If you want to draw the knees in to get a little more stretch in that low back, that might feel awesome. You could also circle the knees, pressing the low back into the mat, getting a little self-massage here. If you're wanting a little more grounding, or maybe you just feel like you need a hug, you can wrap the arms around the knees and hug the knees in, giving yourself some self-love. Awesome work. And we'll start this full body stretch sesh. Last week we started from head working down. Today we'll start from the feet working up. So with the knees drawn in towards the chest, just kind of start to spread out through the toes, roll out through the ankles. We don't often think about our feet or think to stretch our feet, and even just spreading out through the toes, that can just awaken the feet. It can just bring so much liveliness and sensation into the feet. And I've had corrective surgeries, 2 of them on both my feet, and just this act of spreading through my toes has brought back so much more mobility that I never thought I could have again. All right. And as you feel ready, we'll release the left foot down. That left foot could stay planted on the ground, or it could extend out, because we're going to extend that right leg up towards the sky. We won't be here for too long. And you can interlace the hands maybe behind the thigh, behind the knee, up on the calf, or maybe you reach for the feet. Now that left foot, like I said, can be planted on the ground with the knee bent. That'll give you a little more stability. Or you could extend that left leg out along the ground. That's going to give a little more opening in the hips, so that might be a little too intense. So just kind of play around with that. And then with the right leg extended, again, just keep exploring, maybe rolling through the ankle or spreading out through the toes, or maybe just drawing little circles, maybe, the size of a cantaloupe with the heel. And as you lengthen up through the heel, flex the toes back so that you activate through that leg. And embrace the shake. My leg's shaking. That's natural. All right, then from here, we're just going to bend that right knee, and we're going to start to draw the right knee towards the right shoulder. So just finding a little more opening in that right hip. Again, that left leg could stay extended, or you could plant the foot on the ground for more stability. And then with both hands on the right knee, we'll just kind of start to circle that knee around, moving the top of the femur inside the hip socket, and also maybe giving the hip flexor a little massage. I'm a big fan of the self-massage. Fantastic work. Now from here, if that left leg is extended, go ahead and bend it, planting the foot on the ground. We're going to re-extend that right leg up towards the sky, flex the toes back, and then we're going to externally rotate. So turn the toes out towards the right so that the knee and the thigh are kind of opening up, and then we're going to bend the right foot, or bend the right knee, crossing the right ankle on top of the left knee, making kind of a figure 4 here. So you're welcome to stay here. Maybe that right hand comes to the right thigh and you gently press that thigh down. You could walk the left heel closer in towards the glutes. If you do want to explore the sensation in the hip a little bit further, maybe you start to draw the left knee in towards the chest. That left foot could rest on a block or a bolster or any sort of prop, or you could also interlace the hands behind the left knee. So we're taking this figure 4 or a reclined pigeon kind of pose. If the left foot is raised, flex the left toes back and really press that left knee into the right ankle. And then the right toes are flexed back. And there are some options here if you want to explore this sensation a little more. This may be enough for you. I got a lot going on in the outside of my right hip, but other options for you to explore. You could bring in some gentle rocking side to side if that feels okay. You could bring the right elbow to the right knee and gently press it open. You could also use the hands to continue to gently draw the left knee towards the left shoulder. So lots of options to explore. Know that these options are not ranked good, better, best, beginning, intermediate, advanced. I just want to give you, excuse me, plenty of options for you to explore so that you can find what feels right in your body. Where I feel sensation is going to be different from where you feel sensation, from where your neighbor feels sensation. And it's impossible for me to know what every pose feels like in your body. So that's why this idea of embodiment is so important, because we don't want to just force our body into shapes because that's what we think it should look like, or because that's what someone else's looks like, or what someone told us it should look like. No, embody your practice. Allow yoga to conform to you. You don't have to conform to yoga. All right, just a couple more rounds of breath here. Maybe extending, if that left leg was raised, you could extend that left leg up towards the sky. Take about 3 more rounds of breath here. So wrapping up with any exploration you got going on. Beautiful work. When you're ready, if that left foot was raised, go ahead and release it down. And then we're going to set this up into a twist. So the first thing we want to do is shift our hips over towards the right so that as we twist and drop the legs to the left, our spine is still aligned. So if you want, you can keep that right leg crossed and lift, or if you want, put the foot down, shift the hips slightly over towards the right. And then we'll take a twist. You could take a twisted pigeon or this figure 4 twist by leaving the legs as they are and starting to drop the legs over towards the left. They don't need to come all the way to the ground. They could land on a block or a bolster or a cushion of some sorts. If this form of a twist doesn't feel good, you're also welcome to continue to cross that right knee on top of the left and then drop the knees over towards the left. That's going to be pretty intense, a cross-legged twist. If you want something a little more easy on the spine and the hips, you could just stack the knees and twist over towards the left. And with those stacked knee options, you can even use the bolster in between the knees. That's my favorite because I've got a really tight low back. So in twists, my knees don't touch the ground, which is fine. They don't need to. You could also play with the depth of the twist with the positioning of the shoulders. So with the knees dropped over to the left, you can raise that right shoulder up off the ground. You can even shift a little more onto the left side body so that it's a more gentle twist. You could also invite that right shoulder towards the ground. It definitely doesn't need to touch, but that will bring a little more opening across the chest and a deeper twist. Arms could extend into a T or into goalpost, or they could rest on the belly. Again, know that deeper is not necessarily better. We don't need to, go full exorcist into twists to get the benefits. We practice twists because we do need that functional range of motion in the spine to be able to, go through our daily life. But we don't have to be able to twist completely, complete 180 or with our hips facing forward, look completely behind us. We need to be able to have that movement, but it doesn't have to be aggressive. So as you find and settle into your twist, connect to the breath and feel all of the sensations in the body. Notice what comes up for you. Notice where the stiffness is, and listen to the body. It will tell you if you've gone too far. It will tell you if you need to back off. It will tell you if you've got some space to explore. It'll tell you if you found that perfect Goldilocks spot. A few more rounds of breath on this side. Whenever you feel ready, gently starting to raise the legs back up towards center, maybe shifting the hips back in line with the shoulders. And if the legs are crossed, uncross them. Maybe take the legs wider than hip distance and take some windshield wipers or any movements between sides that would feel good. We'll switch out and take that series on the other side, maybe drawing the knees in towards the chest, maybe rocking a little side to side. Then as you feel ready, we'll start to take this on the other side. So we're going to start by extending that left leg up towards the sky. And that right leg, you could have the knee bent, foot planted on the floor, or you could extend that leg out. You're welcome to hold on to the left leg anywhere behind the thigh, up the knee, up the calf, maybe even up towards the foot. We won't be here long. Flex the toes back and maybe start to circle through the ankle, both directions, just spreading out through the toes, just bringing some awareness and love to the feet. Maybe taking small little cantaloupe-sized circles with the leg, knowing that it's perfectly natural if the leg shakes. Nice work. And as you feel ready, we'll just bend the left knee. Start to draw that left knee towards the left shoulder, flexing the left toes back. And that right leg could extend along the ground, or you could plant the foot. And if you'd like, starting to bring in some circling through that left knee using the hands so that you're working that femur bone in the hip socket, getting it ready for some action, and maybe getting a little hip flexor massage. My hip flexors are sore. So I am feeling that. All right, fantastic work. As you're ready, we'll start to set up our figure 4 on the other side. So if that right knee or right leg was extended, plant that foot on the ground with the knee bent. Extend the left leg up towards the sky. Flex the left toes down towards the face and then externally rotate. So turn the toes out to the left. Then we'll bend the knee, planting the left ankle on right knee and opening up through that left knee. You could bring the left hand to the thigh to gently press it open, maybe even down at the hip crease, kind of pressing down. You're welcome to stay here, just feeling into the body here. Or you could start to raise that right foot. Maybe it rests on a block or a bolster. Maybe it hovers. The hands could interlace behind that right knee to hold on. If that right foot is raised, flex the toes back and flex the left toes. And then again, you still have all those options to explore if you want a little more sensation, some gentle rocking side to side, left elbow pressing left knee open, or the interlaced hands drawing that right knee in towards the right shoulder. Now again, I'm giving you options to explore so you can find what feels good in your body. And just like we don't want to compare this to our neighbor or even to what we did if we've done this before, to what this pose looked like last time. But we definitely don't want to just compare sides either. We don't want to force one side to do the same thing as the other because we're asymmetric. We've got imbalances. We've got asymmetries. We've got injuries. We've got different body proportions. There's lots of different reasons that we are asymmetrical. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So we don't want to treat each side of the body the same. We work them both to bring balance and to get to know them. But each side, they're related, but they're not identical. Just a few more rounds of breath here. And notice if you're holding any tension in the face and the neck and the shoulders. The only tension in this pose should be if the hands are interlaced behind the knee, just a little bit of tension in between the fingers. And maybe a little bit of intensity from flexing the toes back, but it shouldn't be tense. So go ahead and release, relax. If you are tense in the neck, maybe rock the head side to side. If you're tensing in the jaw, maybe lick the lips and just kind of slide the lips side to side. Nice work. Wrapping up your exploration in the left outer hip. And then as you feel ready, starting to come out of that, and we'll set up our twist on the other side. So, and the first thing we want to do is shift the hips over towards the left. So as we drop the knees to the right, the spine is still in line. So if you can do that with just the one foot planted, do. If you need to plant both feet and then lift and shift. And then you've got options in your twist. You could take a twisted pigeon by leaving the knees in this figure 4 and just letting the knees drop over towards the right. Again, maybe they find a block or a bolster. You could continue to cross that left knee over, taking a full cross-legged twist, or stacking the knees, dropping them down. Use props in any way. This is where a bolster or a block could come in handy as you rest the knees, or maybe I like to put the bolster in between the knees. And then you can once again play with the placement of that left shoulder. And find your breath. As you connect to your breath, if it feels like you need to hold the breath, or it feels forced or stagnant, then it's a good sign that you've gone a little too deep into your twists. The body's telling you to maybe let it go a little bit. The breath can be an amazing indicator, not just in twists, but in any pose. So if you're pushing yourself too far, if you need to back off and let yourself take some deep breaths, get that prana, get that life force. A few more rounds of breath here in our twist. As you feel ready, just nice and slow, nice and gently start to raise the knees back up, untwisting through the spine. And again, feel free to take any movements between sides, or any movements now that we've wrapped up both sides, maybe some windshield wipers, knees side to side. Again, maybe those knees in towards the chest. Maybe you take a happy baby, taking the knees out wide, feet flexed back, feet up towards the sky, knees in towards the armpits. Fantastic work. And then when you're ready, just rock onto one side of the body. Gently press your way up. And we'll start coming into hands and knees, so coming into a tabletop position. Take your time to set this up. You could double up on the mat. You could kneel on a blanket to bring some extra cushion for the knees, which I think we could all use, everyone's knees could use a little extra cushion. And then we want to plant the hands nice and solid, but take some time to figure out where it feels best for you to plant the hands. Very commonly, we hear wrists directly underneath the shoulders. That doesn't work for me. I like mine a little wider to accommodate for this angle of the forearm. And then I also like to walk my hands a little forward, so it's a little more gentle on the wrists. And I've recently discovered that it feels really good to kind of rotate so that the pointer finger is pointing forward. That also helps take some pressure off my wrists. So that's what I've discovered works best for me. Feel free to explore and find what works best for you. So when you have that solid connection, we want to press the ground away so we're lifting in the back of the heart. We're not letting the chest drop down, shoulders collapse. We're really lifting here. Then we're lengthening out through the crown of the head, out through the tailbone. The core is engaged, so we're drawing the belly in and up. We're not just dropping the belly down into an arch here, but we're supporting that natural curvature of the spine. So take a moment to really set up this active tabletop. We're pressing the tops of the feet into the ground. We're pressing the ground away as we lengthen out through the spine. Find your breath here. Find this activation. Awesome work. Then we're just going to move through the spine. So we'll be taking some cat-cow. We want to maintain this activation, even that belly drawing in. So then on the inhale, we're going to lower the belly down. Don't release that activation as the pelvis tilts up, gaze lifts, heart shines forward. And then exhale, that belly draws in and up as we round out through the spine, tucking through the chin and tucking through the tail. Take a few more explorative rounds here. Taking it to whatever depth feels right for you. You're welcome to slow it down, taking a few deep rounds of breath into each pose, or move through one breath per movement. Inhaling to smile the spine, exhaling to round it out. So we've worked through some spinal twists, working through some spinal flexion here. And then we'll take it into some side bend so that we get the full experience of our spine. All right, so when you're ready, we're just gonna bring it back to neutral. And then just for some side stretching, we're gonna shift the hips to the right as we take the gaze over the right shoulder and lengthen through the left side body. And then we'll come back to center and take it to the other side. The hips shift to the left as the gaze comes over the left shoulder, extending through the right and back through center. So just take a few more rounds here, a little wagging of the tail, a little movement through the neck, and some nice side stretching. And we want to try to keep the spine pretty aligned. So as you're looking over the shoulder, don't crank the head up or look down. Try to keep it nice and neutral. Just working through that side bending so that it's almost taking it into a stretch in the side of the neck. So we're just creating these crescent shapes with the body as we come back through center and take it to the other side. Continue to press into the hands, press into the feet, and find your breath. Now we're going to combine these movements, this kind of side to side, front to back, just by taking full circles. So we'll round out into the spine here, coming into our cat, and then we'll start to shift the ribs over towards the right, opening up through the right side body, starting to lower the belly down, coming through our cat pose. You can bend the elbows as much as you'd like. Shifting the ribs over towards the left, expanding through the left side body, and then rolling back through our cat pose. So we're moving around, just repeat here, these full circles. And these could be as big or as small as you'd like. You could go as fast or as slow as you'd like. When you're ready, reverse direction of those circles. About 3 or so more rounds of breath here, so wrapping up your exploration. And we will meet back in a neutral pose. And we're going to bring it up now into the mid-back, to the upper back. So we're gonna come into a hero's pose. So just sitting back on the knees. And I know this isn't a popular pose. It's an option to take screaming foot pose. You don't have to. Getting dirty looks. But if you want to take it, it's a great stretch for the feet. So from hero's pose, you're gonna plant the feet and kind of tuck the toes underneath. So it gets a full stretch through that foot. And as you sit the hips back, this is intense. It's called screaming foot pose for a reason. You're gonna feel it. So one thing that's nice is you can take a block or a cushion or something and put it in between the ankles so that it can kind of take some of the weight as you shift back onto the sits bones. So this is an option. You can totally skip this and just work on the eagle arms. You can, come into a seat. You can do whatever you want with the legs. Maybe you want to find a hip opener, do fire log or something, but this is where we are if you want to join. And as we work through eagle arms, stay in tune with the feet. Know that you can do hard things. You can get through challenging poses, challenging situations, challenging positions. But listen to the body. If the feet are screaming to the point where you're like, yeah, you're ready to throw the remote at the TV and or just swear at me, maybe don't take it that far. So, all right, We're in our screaming foot pose, eagle arms. So we're looking to stretch the scapulas and open up through the upper back. So we'll inhale to open up through the arms. Exhale, we're gonna bring the right elbow underneath the left. Bend the elbows. The backs of the hands can come to touch. You could also double wrap to bring the palms to touch, lifting up through the elbows and bringing them forward so that we open up through the scapulas. And if your body's like, not happening, you can go ahead and grab opposite shoulders. Elbows are stacked, they're lifted up and away so that we're really exaggerating that opening in the scapulas. And if it would feel good here, maybe tuck the chin down towards the chest, getting a little more length in the back side of the neck. And the elbows are either in line with the shoulders or higher. We don't want them to drop down low because then that kind of closes the shoulder blades. So we want them lifted up and away. If the chin was tucked down, maybe raise it up and maybe just drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. A little neck stretch. Maybe switching it out, coming back up through center and over towards the left. Fantastic work. Bringing the head back towards neutral. Take one more deep inhale to lengthen up through the spine. And then exhale, untwist through the arms. Open them up side to side. And then release them back behind you. Maybe the hands just energetically reach for each other. Maybe they interlace. Roll the shoulders back and down. Opening up through the chest. Maybe even take the gaze up if that feels good. Getting a little stretch to the front side of the neck. Rooting the hands down towards the ground as you open up through the chest. Fantastic work. When you're ready, release the hands, shake them out. We still got the other side to do, so check in with the feet. Maybe if you need to adjust your support. I'm going to take it a little more intense, so I'm going to lower. Oh, too low. All right, there we go. Other side, inhale, reach the arms open, and exhale, bring them together. Left elbow underneath right this round. Crisscross to bring the backs of the hands to touch. Double crisscross to bring the palms to touch. And again, if that's just not working out for you, grab both shoulders, no problem. Elbows are stacked, they're lifting up and away. So again, the elbows are either in line with the shoulders or slightly higher. Really open up across those shoulder blades. And now if you'd like to go a little bit deeper here, with the elbows continuing to lift up, so we don't want to drop the elbows down, they're still lifted. We're just going to round out in the upper back. So the elbows are going to start to come in towards the belly button, but we don't want to draw the elbows in. They're still extending out and away from the shoulders. And this rolling through just the upper back, there might be a little in the mid back too. That's just to open up in the shoulder blades a little bit deeper. So you may not even need to do this if it's enough sensation for you to stay upright, elbows lifting up and out. Maybe the chin tucks in towards the chest to get a little more length in the back of the neck. Beautiful work. If you are taking that option where you are rounding out in the upper back, as you feel ready, inhale to slowly start to raise it up. Untwist through the arms. Open up. And once again, release the hands back behind you. Maybe they just energetically reach, or maybe they interlace. Shoulders roll back and down, chest opens. Little counter stretch, shoulder blades pinch together, and maybe lifting the gaze, getting a stretch in the front of the neck would help. Beautiful. One more deep round of breath. And as you feel ready, release the hands, shake them out. How those feet feeling? All right, as you feel ready, raise up off the heels or off the block. Untuck through the toes. It might feel good to kind of tap them out on the mat. Or another thing that feels awesome is a foot massage. If you want, come into a seat. Bring the bottoms of the feet to touch. And give those tootsies a little rub, little squeeze. When you're ready, just come to a comfortable seated position. You're welcome to sit up on a prop, on a blanket. I got my trusty bolster of this thing. I'll just bring in a little movement for the shoulders. And then we'll get to the good stuff, to the Shavasana. So sitting up nice and tall, find a connection down to your sits bones and let the sits bones be nice and squared here because that squares through the hips. Use that foundation to lengthen up, sitting with some integrity, nothing rigid, but just sitting with some strength, maybe activating the core a little bit for support, releasing the arms alongside the body. We'll inhale to send the arms out and up. And exhale, just bend the elbows into goalposts. Inhale, pinch the shoulder blades together, draw the elbows back. And exhale, prayer hands towards heart center, keeping the elbows raised. Inhale, come back through our goalposts. Nice exhale here. Inhale, re-extend the arms up towards the sky. And exhale, release the arms down. Awesome work. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, arms out, up. And exhale, bend elbows into goalposts. Spread out through the hands, elbows come parallel to the shoulders. Inhale, elbows draw back, shoulder blades pinch together, maybe a lift in the chest, lift in the gaze. Exhale, we round out in the upper back as we bring the forearms, elbows, and hands together. Maybe the chin tucks down towards the chest. Inhale to open back up through goalposts, spreading out through the hands, lengthening through the spine. Nice exhale here. Inhale, arms reach back up towards the sky. And exhale, as we lower hands down, just roll out through the wrists. Maybe in both directions. Awesome work. All right, now, for the next pose, we're going to take a supported heart opener. You could bring in a hip opener as well. So the way that we're gonna set this up is that we wanna have some support for the spine. So we want something that is about the length of the spine. So a bolster, you could get a rolled up blanket, couch cushions, even an extra yoga mat. You could roll up the yoga mat and lie on that. But what we wanna do is take whatever we have lengthwise so that we can lie the spine all the way back and it can be supported. So we're really just looking to get a lift in the back of the heart so that we can drop the shoulder blades back, the shoulders back and down further than we could if we were just lying flat on the ground. Now, if you can see when I have the bolster interfaced with my low back, this is an intense arching through my low back. So a few ways that you can alleviate that. If you want just a little arch, press the bolster further away and release down. You could also bring in a blanket to bring a little lift to decrease that arch. You could also use a block or something similar to alleviate that arch, to neutralize it. So you could lift the hips bring the block underneath so that the whole back is raised and supported so that you're not working with any back bending. You could also do that at the top of your bolster or whatever, bringing in a block to rest the head on. Now, if you wanted to take this into that hip opener, then we'll take cobbler's pose. So bringing the bottoms of the feet to touch and the knees drop open. Now, if you are like me and have very tight hips, it might be nice to bring in a little support here. So that's where blocks or your block substitute could come in. Just kind of nestle it right underneath the knees to give some support, because we're going to be holding this for maybe about 5 minutes. So it's going to get intense. The arms can be spread out into a T or into goalposts if you're feeling more open and receptive. If this is feeling a little too vulnerable, it is going to be vulnerable. You know, our heart is exposed, our major organs are exposed, and we're not used to that. We don't, we travel around this world quite often rolling our shoulders in, kind of hunkered over, protecting ourselves, whether we realize it or not. So this openness can feel very vulnerable. As long as it's not triggering any traumas or going to send you into a dark place that I can't be there to help get you out of, then be with this. But if it does feel too intense, you can bring in some more grounding by bringing the hands to the belly, one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. You could even cross the arms, grabbing onto opposite elbows, biceps, or shoulders. So feel into your body, into this one. Notice what comes up. Notice the emotions that come up and how they feel in your body. Hip openers, heart openers, they can be intense. We can get a rush of memory, a release of pent-up emotion. It can be triggering. So stay with it and know what's best for you. And settle into this, finding your breath. Interacting with the breath in any way you'd like, through simple observation, through the controlled deep belly breathing, and or through Ujjayi breath. Embracing the sounds around you, allowing them to become a part of the experience and a good lesson that we cannot control what happens outside of us. We can simply control how we react to it. Be present. Feel and connect to your body. And remember that we are here to practice embodiment, not enlightenment. And continue to check in, knowing that as we hold poses longer, sometimes the body will release and relax into it.
Sometimes the body will create more space to move into, and that can be a good thing. That can definitely be beneficial. But sometimes that could also take us too deep. So as we continue to hold and breathe in this pose, keep checking in. Notice if it starts to be painful, if there's any pinching, burning, tearing sensations. We want to avoid that. Anything that feels like it is doing more harm than good. The phrase "no pain, no gain" does not apply to yoga. So while we do want to settle into stillness and find that peace, know that you don't have to be uncomfortable. You don't have to feel like you're battling your way through this. Another 20 or so rounds of breath here. Wrapping up this pose in the next 3 or so rounds of breath. And as you feel ready, we'll start to make a transition to our Shavasana. If this is feeling awesome, feel free to stay here. If there are any movements or stretches that you'd like to take before settling into your Shavasana, take as much time as you'd like to explore those. And then whenever you feel ready, no rush, starting to set up your Shavasana or your final relaxation. So final pose. And this can be anything that you feel like you could surrender to. Traditional corpse pose is done lying on the back, toes turned out, palms turned up. But just like at the beginning of class, if you want to support yourself in any way, feel free with the bolster, blankets, cushions, anything you got going on. Feel free to create a pillow heaven, as my nephew calls it. The goal in this final pose, which is the most challenging pose, as well as the most beneficial, and really what yoga is about. And the challenge comes from the act of surrender. That is something that us as humans are not very good at doing. We like to have control or at least the illusion of control. But I bet all of us can think of at least one time in our life that we just threw our hands up and said, let go, let God, or whatever. Just, I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to surrender. And then things worked out. That's where the real magic happens. That is when, through our yoga practice or through our daily lives, all of the intention, all of the energy, all of the effort that we put into, living the life that we want, becoming the person that we want to be. It's within that surrender that all of that good work, plus, a little magic of yoga, that all starts to reap the benefits. So allow yourself to surrender to this pose, to be fully held and supported physically, emotionally, mentally. Release the breath, release the mind, and let yourself just be. For those practicing at home, if you can give yourself more time in this pose of surrender, please do. I'd suggest at least 5 more minutes, upwards of 20 if you can spare it. Giving yourself this gift to just be. As you feel ready, gently starting to bring some movement back into the body. If you're lying down and not already there, gently start to make your way onto one side of the body. Feel free to pose in this nurturing position, getting all the goods. And when you feel ready, gently pressing your way back up to a comfortable seat.
I'll invite you to bring the hands to heart center. I'll invite you to bring the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I see you, I honor you, and I bow to you. Namaste.